Ichimon Japan is made possible in part by Patreon support, and we just got our 10th patron. So thank you so much to Jay Mukoyama. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm so sorry if I'm not. Jae Mukoyama. I really, really appreciate it. Jay signed up for the $3 a month plus alpha tier, which gives you access to Japanese plus alpha, my other podcast about Japan, my third one, and it's all about the Japanese language and its quirks and all that kind of stuff. So again, thank you so much, Jay. I from the bottom of my heart, arigatou gozaimasu. So if you want to become a patron and help support this show and Japan Station and all the japankyo.com stuff, then head on over to japankyo.com/Patreon. I never forgot it, but I also never looked into why Nyan Nyan meant this, right? I guess cats are kind of sexy. I don't know. Like I just, that was the best I could come up with.
Because sexy cats are just all over the place.
Welcome to Ichimon Japan. I'm Tony and
I'm Ryan.
All right. So Ichimon means one question. In every episode, we bring up a question about Japan and try to answer it. So today's question is, why does to nyannyan mean to have sex in Japanese?
I mean, it's so obvious.
Yeah.
What do you think of when you hear nyannyan?
Yeah, you think sexy time,
If
right?
your answer's
Nyan-nyan.
a flying cat Pop-Tart, then something's wrong.
So, nyannyan suru does mean that, and we will get to that. But before we answer this question, I wanted to discuss a few other interesting cat-based expressions in Japanese, because there are quite a few interesting expressions, idioms in Japanese that have something to do with cats. And so we're going to go through a few of them. And the first one that I wanted to discuss is neko no te mo karitai, or usually you might hear something like neko no te mo karitai gurai isogashi. So literally what this means is neko is cat in Japanese. You're going to be hearing that word a lot in this episode. Neko, 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 cat.
You're going to hear it just because of that.
Yeah, just that's
We're
it.
actually not talking about cats at all today.
Yeah. We're not going to say it anymore in this episode. So neko,
We're talking about the bubble economy of the 80s today.
Yep. So, well, what happened was Japan got really, they couldn't cover their loans, and then cats came out.
They borrowed too heavily from the cats.
Yeah, exactly. Those predatory lenders. Oh, yeah.
Never trust a cat.
Yep. So, neko no te literally means cat hand. You could loosely more
paw.
naturally translate it as paw. And mo means like also. Karitai means that you want to borrow. So literally means you want to borrow a cat's paw. And then and
it's literal.
Yeah, it's literal. That there is no, well, there's a, I mean, there's a figurative meaning to this too, but.
No. People just like to collect cat paws.
Yeah. Can I borrow your cat paw, please?
Can I borrow your cat paw, please?
Yeah.
It's a kind of currency.
So usually what, like in the more complete, I guess, longer version of this, like I said, gurai isogashi, neko no te mo karitai gurai isogashi. I'm so busy, isogashi means busy, I'm so busy that I want to borrow a cat paw. And
like a cat's paw, right?
Yeah, cat's paw, yeah.
I don't think it's
So
unattached in the thing.
True. Now, what that means is, because obviously that just sounds strange to us with no context, but what that means is you're just so busy that you'll take any amount of help, no matter how little. Now, why are we talking about cat's paws? Because, well, cats typically, they just do their own thing. They're not particularly helpful. So even if a cat were to be there, it provides you with like a tiny, almost insignificant amount of help. You are so busy that even you would be grateful for that.
It's kind of funny. Like, I knew this phrase before this, but looking through the other phrases and things we're going to get to, for the first time, I'm realizing almost all these phrases have a pretty negative image of cats.
Yeah. And that being said, cats are extremely popular in Japan. And like, I think about a year or two ago, there was one pet food company released their stats saying that for the first time ever, they had sold more cat food in Japan than dog food. So they're saying that there's more cats in Japan. Like they're in the middle of like a cat boom. So cats are super popular right now.
I don't want to contradict you, but my students themselves actually had an assignment where they had to compare different statistics from different countries, and dogs were far more popular in Japan than cats.
Well, so the one that I saw was just one pet food company. So I don't know. I guess it depends on the source.
Yeah, because I think dogs were double.
Maybe they eat less.
Or the cats are just very overfed.
Yeah. Japan has a lot of fat cats.
It became like an interesting thing because then they were seeing like which country were cats more popular. Like in America, cats are more popular, and which country were dogs more popular. And Japan was one of the dog ones.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So, but yeah, that means that regardless of what standard you use, I think cats are still very popular.
They are still popular. They're definitely at least second place.
Yeah. And even if like you don't own a cat, I think most people do like think cat characters. There's a lot of cat characters starting with, of course, Hello Kitty, but you know, they're cute, right? So there's plenty of little cute cat-based characters.
Yes, like Kitty-chan.
Yeah, Kitty-chan, which, Kitty Whiteo, that's her actual name.
Is her name Whiteo?
Yeah, Whiteo, that's her last name.
Actually.
Yeah, Whiteo. You have to pronounce it Whiteo.
I just looked real quick. I can't find the actual numbers, but dogs are number 1 in Japan. Cats are number 2.
Gotcha. All right.
And fish are 3rd.
Okay, well, they're also popular food.
That's probably why. Wow. According to this list, this is just a silly list. The first is koi. Then in 4th place is tropical fish. Then in 7th place is other fish.
Is that where all the goldfish are in the other fish?
I can't imagine koi beating goldfish. I'm wondering though if you put all the fish together, if that beats cats and dogs then.
Yeah.
I think they're owned less frequently, but usually you have more than one fish if you have an aquarium.
That's very true. Yeah, usually
and there's not that many people with 15 dogs.
Huh. I guess all those the kingyosukui, like in the fairs, in the matsuri, in the like summer festivals, they have those booths where you use like this little paper scoop to try to scoop out a goldfish, and then if you do, you win. But because it's paper, like it starts dissolving in the water really fast, so you have to be really quick and really good at it. I guess all those goldfish pretty much end up dying, so that doesn't drive up the goldfish numbers.
I'm actually... Oh, never mind. That's too off topic.
All right. Yeah, that was a long way to get to goldfish. But anyway, let's get back to the cats.
Yes.
So there you have. So you have the cat's paw one. So that's the first. Pretty common. All of these are very well known, understood ones. They're not particularly obscure.
I actually want to ask, in your personal experience, how often have you heard someone say this? Because I've seen it in like famous idioms of Japan.
Yeah.
But I can't for the life of me remember any time I actually heard someone say it like naturally.
This is just going purely by my memory, which is totally unreliable, but I feel like I've heard maybe in actual everyday usage, I'll say 5 times in like 10 years.
Again, I'm not sure, but I'm wondering if it's something like raining cats and dogs where you can like say it humorously to children, but no one really says it.
I think neko no te, like you do hear it used sincerely, but you probably wouldn't hear people like a 20-year-old use it. Usually it's a little bit older. And I think most people would have to be pretty busy before using it. And this is also purely anecdotal. I feel like the only person that I've ever heard use this, maybe like 1 or 2 people were both women. So maybe a guy would probably just say something else, but again, no research to back this up. This is just anecdotal.
I have heard the next one on the list if you want to go to that one.
So definitely. I think the next one is maybe the most commonly used one.
Yeah. So I assume you mean
is, go ahead. What is it? Yes, nekojita. Yes.
Yeah, nekojita.
Nekojita.
So neko is cat. Jita is usually shita, which is tongue.
Mm-hmm.
So cat's tongue, obviously. And you could use it in things like, I'm a cat's tongue.
Yeah, I'm a cat. Watashi nekojita. Yeah, you're like I'm literally that would be like I'm a cat's tongue. With the implication, I guess it's implied I have a cat's tongue, I guess. Yeah.
No, you just are one.
Yeah, you just are a cat's tongue. You're just a big cat's tongue.
The meaning is that you don't like extremely hot food.
Yeah.
Or drinks.
Yeah, you're just very bad at drinking, for example, like hot coffee or something, right? You have to wait until it cools down. And this one, like guys and girls, totally like all ages. I feel like I hear this a lot, and perhaps it's also because like I'm not good at drinking. Like I don't even drink coffee, for example, but I'm not good at drinking like hot drinks or hot anything. Usually, I'll have to wait until it cools down a little bit.
Me as well.
So of course, when that happens, Japanese people will immediately. Okay, there's always exceptions, but one of the most common questions you'll get is, "Oh, are you nekojita?" Like right away, they go like, "Yeah, I'm nekojita."
Even being a foreigner, from at least what I can remember, no one tries to use like easier to understand phrases. It's always that.
Yeah.
And since I am also that, I just like, nekojita da.
Yeah. So you'll probably, if you're not good at drinking like hot stuff, then you'll probably learn that pretty quickly, or it'll come across when you're interacting with Japanese people.
Slight diversion. I strongly suspect if you were not born and raised in Japan, you're probably nekojita, because people here like their tea horribly hot.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like I said, I don't even drink coffee, but I know that some people love hot coffee, so I don't know.
To put it, like I was telling Tony slightly before we started recording, we have a like hot water machine in my school. We also have a coffee machine, but this one's just for like tea. And they constantly keep it at 98 degrees Celsius, and 100 is boiling. So just slightly under boiling.
Yeah.
And they're okay with that. And I'm like, I'm going to get I get like these little instant miso packs that I put in my cup.
Yeah.
And then 15 minutes later, I start drinking it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. Yeah. Like whenever I do something, like I don't really, it's been years since I've had like a cup ramen or whatever, but I would do it, and then I would just let it sit for a while.
Yeah. The instructions are like, let it sit 3 minutes. Like, nah, it's sitting 20.
That's still too hot. I can't drink this. So yeah, nekojita, and the theory is that, you know, cats, or really just about any animal, is not used to like they're not used to eating like hot food. So
yeah, it's funny they picked cat, because I mean, a dog will eat cooked meat if you give it to them, but they'll also eat it cold. I don't seem to care.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, and cats are predators. They would normally like kill mice and like little small animals, so they're used to eating at least body temperature food.
I just want to believe somewhere in like Heian era, some lady was like trying to shove hot tea down a cat's mouth.
It's like, no, it really
just,
hates
like, wasn't
hot
working
tea.
out.
So obviously,
and then her teacher, someone was like, "Oh no, cats' tongues can't handle that."
Yeah, their delicate, rough tongues can't handle. Yeah. Anyway, so cat's tongue. Yeah, that's probably the most common one on the list. But moving on.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so the next one I have on the list is nekobaba.
The old lady cat.
Well, no, actually. So
I know it doesn't mean that. But
but neko. So that I think I pronounced it a little off, but nekobaba would be like the old lady cat, but nekobaba, I guess, would be the more accurate pronunciation of this. Which the kanji, when you look at the kanji, it's actually like poop, crap. So it's like cat crap. And there's many ways to say crap in Japanese, but baba is apparently baby talk. I don't know if that's totally accurate. That might just be a regional thing, but that's what I was reading in the article that I found. So baba is an alternate pronunciation for like kuso, which is like crap.
Yeah, I've never had a baby, but I've never heard poop referred to as baba.
Yeah, me either. So, but there are a lot of...
And I know a lot of poop words in Japanese.
Yeah. And there are a lot of like baby talk words too. Like, for example, stomach is pompon. So... but anyway, so... Across
all languages, baby words are cute.
Yes. So everybody keep your pompons warm. But nekobaba literally means like cat poop. But it's actually the action of doing something bad, but then trying to hide it. So you know that it's bad, therefore you hide it. For example, like if somebody drops their wallet and you don't turn it in, you steal it, right? You just keep it.
Mm.
And
then you're a cat poop.
Yeah, then you're a cat poop. And the idea is that, when cats poop, they, for example, in the litter box, they end up tried to cover it up with the poop, right? So they did something bad, which is pooping,
okay.
I guess.
I can see the logic.
Yeah, and then they try to
I thought it was just cats are criminals.
Well, we will get to that. We will get to that one too, because there is one that has to do with that. So nekobaba, this one I can't ever remember hearing it in person.
I have this feeling I've heard it somewhere, but I could just be imagining it because I can't think of any situation.
Yeah. So, and I don't remember hearing it in an anime or anything like that either. So maybe this one's more uncommon, but as far as I can tell, it's not like the average Japanese person wouldn't know it. It seems like it's pretty commonly known, just maybe not that commonly used. And then here's another one that's pretty common, and I've heard this many, many times. This is maybe the second most common one, nekoze.
This is one that just like based on the kanji, I immediately knew what it meant.
Right. So neko
it is the most literal one.
Again, neko, cat, ze, like back, or
usually se.
Yeah, se. Yeah. In this context, just slightly different pronunciation, but nekoze. So the back of a cat. And
if you can picture a cat's back, it means that.
Yeah, basically. So it means like to have bad posture, kind of the curved back, curved forward. In an extreme case, you might even say hunchback in some certain contexts. But when you like Ryan was saying, yeah, picture a cat, especially like if it's about to jump,
angry cat,
or like if it's kind of like threatening somebody, right? It'll curve up its back, and so it's like a very literal image of what your back looks like in that case. So I don't have the best posture, so this just naturally has come up in conversations with me. So I think if you don't have good posture, this may be something you hear, nekoze. So moving on to the next one, we have dorobōneko, which is the one that we were alluding to earlier when we were talking about cat criminals. So dorobo literally means thief, and again neko. So a thieving cat, I guess you could translate it as. And
it's a little interesting because, like in English, the phrase "cat burglar" also exists. So internationally, cats are not trustworthy.
Now, I didn't look this up, but I feel like cat burglar refers to the kind of stealthiness of a cat.
Maybe.
Right? Whereas this dorobōneko refers to the kind of thieving, conniving nature of a cat.
I mean, it could be a mix of both in English. Like, I don't know. Because I feel like in English world mindset, cats are still...
Yeah, especially the black cat thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's a different kind of thing. But yeah, cats are typically seen as kind of like the sneaky, untrustworthy kind of thing, right?
Like, I feel like if you had to make a Disney movie where they're all anthropomorphic animals and one was a burglar, you're going to go cat or fox.
Yes. Yeah.
And in Japanese, I think you would also go cat or fox.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, both are just, seen as like the sneaky, untrustworthy. All right, so dorobōneko though. Now, what this means is the most typical usage that you get is a woman using it to refer to another woman. So let's say there's a married couple and the guy has an adulterous relationship with another woman. The wife would use dorobōneko to refer to the lover, the adulterous partner.
So it's still a type of thievery.
Yeah. So you're thieving the husband, right? You're stealing the husband. And this I have heard only on TV and like Japanese media, because I guess I've never been in this kind of situation.
Not yet.
Yeah, exactly. So, nor do I intend to be, but, but this is the kind of thing that you would see in like an anime or in like a soap opera kind of thing far more often than, well, I guess it depends who you keep company with, but
you might encounter it in real life a lot. And if so,
please
change
but
your
for
life.
Me, that's where I've seen it. The jilted lover will say, "I know dorobōneko," right? Like, oh, she's such a thieving cat. And that means like she stole the husband away. And, one one explanation that I saw for this was, for example, cats have that sort of sneaky reputation to them. For example, if you're cooking a piece of fish and you turn away, then maybe a cat might come and steal it while you're not looking.
Except that they don't like hot food, so cats are also
they don't. So so if you don't want your cat, this stray cat stealing your food, keep it really hot.
Or just don't let stray cats in your house while you're cooking fish.
Yeah. So the idea is, right, like a stray cat will sneak into your house and steal your food if you're not looking. And this is like a stray woman, I guess, will come into your house and steal your husband.
Just to dispel any possible misunderstanding, stray cats don't really come into houses that often in Japan.
Yeah.
Though I did have a friend tell me that they had a really old house in the countryside. And one day, like, the ceiling panels, I guess, one of them fell.
Yeah.
And the reason was there was a bunch of snakes on it.
Oh my God. I guess snakes on a Japanese house, I guess.
Yeah, so it's not that rare of a thing that they have, like, their traditional house out in the countryside, but the family, like, moved away to the city at some point. So this was a story like that where they were going back in the summer to their like old time grandparents era house, which had been abandoned for a while. So I guess snakes.
Yeah, they get run down.
Yeah, and like while they were cooking breakfast or something, the roof fell down and snakes landed on them. They all freaked out.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Also, not a common thing in Japan, but apparently it's happened at least once.
Yeah, at least once. And that reminds me of another thing, so perhaps one of the most widely watched anime in Japan is Sazae-san.
Oh, yeah.
And this is, refer back to our hi, how do you say, was it? Does hi mean bye in Japanese episode, where we talk about Anpanman, which is another unknown or not that well known outside of Japan anime. But
it's super big here.
Yeah, super big. Anpanman and Sazae-san are like these things that everybody watches, especially Sazae-san. Sazae-san is the kind of thing that people watch. Well, comes on Sunday at like 6 o'clock, maybe.
Yeah, in small history, it started as like I think single panel manga in a newspaper about 100 years ago now. Yeah. So Sazae-san is basically like a family. They're all named after like seafood or fish, just for no real reason other than I guess it's just funny. It's pretty common in Japanese fiction.
Yeah, they all have like silly names. Yeah. Like of course Dragon Ball is the most famous where they're all vegetables. All the Saiyans are vegetables. But so Sazae-san is just a family. I think it's like a classic Japanese family, right? Like grandparents, the married couple, and then 3 kids. I think it's 3 kids. Yeah, it's the older sister, the brother, and then a baby. Anyway, the opening of Sazae-san has a scene where a stray cat steals Sazae-san, the mother's fish. And then there was this show in Japan, I think in the 2000s, early 2000s, called Trivia no Izumi, Spring of Trivia, where they would try to find out silly like trivia and then oftentimes test it if it's true. And so what they tried to figure out was, what is the biggest fish a cat can carry?
I hope they found like a cat running away with a tuna or something.
Well, it wasn't a tuna, but they got
a great white.
They started out with little fish and they would just leave it out in the open and wait until a cat would show up and like take it away. And they got to like pretty big fish. Like, like the fish was at least lengthwise about the size of a cat, I think. So
it's like that rat with the pizza.
Yeah, pizza rat. So they just kept going bigger and bigger until the cat just could not pick it up anymore. So I watched that on YouTube. If I can find that video on YouTube, I will put it in the show notes because it is a pretty funny video.
I'm curious, when it was too big for the cat to move, did the cat just eat it there or did it just give up and leave?
I think it just left, but it's been quite a while since I watched that video, so I might be wrong.
So they're more interested in the stealing than the eating. Cats are horrible.
I mean, I think if they would have left it out long enough, maybe the cat would have come back and just eaten it there. But I mean, it was a pretty big fish by the time it had to give up. So it's not like a snake where they can unhinge their jaw and just save it for later. So
not yet. Anyway, evolution's coming.
So yeah, that was dorobōneko. Yeah, tangent. But we're back to the next one, which is neko o kaburu. So we're going to do this one, and then we'll take a break and come back to talk about Nyan Nyan. Okay, so neko o kaburu. So literally, again, neko, cat. Kaburu is, in Japanese, there's many words that are used to put on things.
Yeah.
Right.
So like on your head.
Yeah. So this is something you would use to put on your head. So for example, boshi o kaburu, to put on a hat. Anything that you would put over yourself, even like a blanket. If you were to put a blanket over yourself, kind of like a costume, like a ghost, that would be like sheets or kaburu, maybe like
I guess
anything.
You can think of like drape on top of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But typically when you're talking about clothes, it would be like a hat, right?
So if you just shove a cat on your head, then you've done it.
Literally, it means to shove a cat on your head, to put a cat over your head. But I mean, Japanese people would not interpret it that way because this has an actual idiomatic meaning. And it means to, like, usually you would hear it used when, usually a girl would be playing it up like she's super cute. And she's like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Oh, I don't eat like spicy food. And she's just trying to be cute and have people around her like her, but her actual real personality is totally different. So she's just, pretending to be a likable version of herself. So this has two, at least as far as I was able to find, two origins that are proposed. So one is cats have this, again, kind of like double nature to them. They can be super like they come up to you and you pet them and they want you to pet them and they start purring and they're super nice. But then from one second to another, they get all like grumpy and they can go like start killing mice, and they're not like, they become like predators, and they only are nice when they want to be nice. So you can see how that kind of relates to like a person kind of putting on these fake airs, I guess you could say, to be nice when they want to be nice for their own like selfish purposes. And then the other proposed etymology for this is there are these straw mats which are called mushiro, and then apparently another way to call these, another word for these, are neko, but the kanji is not the same. But then at some point they started using the kanji for neko, which is cat. But apparently there was an alternate meaning to neko kaburu, which, again, the straw mats. If you put a straw mat on top of yourself, it's also like a similar meaning to kind of pretend to know something to pretend you know something even though you don't know it.
Okay.
So you can see where the kind of, the connection happens, where they end up just using the different neko, which is cat. So, I mean, it's not known. That
makes more sense for using the verb kaburu, because when the first explanation, I was kind of like,
yeah,
I understand the connection to cat, but why kaburu?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So it's not for certain which one is true, but this putting the straw mat over one, maybe. Yeah, exactly. So who knows? But neko kaburu, this I have heard people say it sometimes kind of jokingly. They might say like, "Oh, you're so nice." Oh, no, I'm actually neko kaburu, like kabutteru, right? It's like, I'm actually not that nice. Kind of this humble sort of thing.
Planning to kill you.
Yeah. But you're kind of jokingly saying that, right, in this humble sort of way. I've heard this used a fair amount of times, and also in media. So I think this one is pretty common. So
I like your example because the person is saying that they're being a hypocrite. Because too many people believe that like sarcasm doesn't exist in Japan, and I don't know why. True.
Yeah. That definitely does happen, even though I think the misunderstanding comes when you try to do things in a sarcastic way, the same exact way that you would do it in English.
Yeah. It's a different language, different culture, so the same things don't necessarily work, but Japanese sarcasm definitely does exist.
Absolutely. Yes. And maybe we can talk more about that specifically at another time, but definitely exists. Yes. Anyway, so we will take a quick break to pet some cats, and we'll be back with Nyan Nyan. Hey, Tony here. So 2 quick announcements. One is about this episode and one is not. let's start with the one that is not. The latest episode of Japan Station is out now, episode 48 with Dr. Amanda C. Seaman. And we talk about pregnancy and marriage in Japan. And it's a really, really interesting conversation. I learned a lot from reading her book and just talking to her because, well, I didn't know that much about the topic. And for example, did you know that Japanese women are sometimes told not to eat foreign foods while they're pregnant? Well, apparently that's a thing, and there's a reason for that. So go listen to the episode if you want to find out why. We also briefly discuss NES game localization because Dr. Seaman also did that before she went into academia. So if you haven't listened to the episode yet, go to japanstationpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts. The other thing I wanted to mention is that in the second half of this episode, as I mentioned earlier, right, we're going to be talking about Nyan Nyan, like what that term means, the first time I heard it, and where exactly this particularly quirky term originated. Unfortunately, the backstory to Nyan Nyan is not exactly happy by any means. It's like the opposite of happy. And there is a mention of suicide as well. So I just wanted to give you the heads up for that. The first couple minutes are pretty, normal Ichimon Japan type style stuff. Some joking around, a couple laughs. But then we get into the kind of meat of the story, and that's when things start to get a bit darker. So again, just wanted to let you know. All right, so let's get back into it. Here is the rest of the episode. Okay, so Nyan Nyan time. Actually, before we get to Nyan Nyan, if you want to find out about neko mimi, which is another neko related thing. Neko mimi.
What a good lead-in.
Cat ears. Go back to episode 1, our very first episode, and I think it's a pretty funny episode. I definitely enjoyed recording that one. Neko mimi. You can find all about the history of the trope of cat ears in anime and manga, and just some funny, ridiculous questions that we also ended up asking about the whole idea of cat girls and cat people. So go check that out. Episode 1.
And a good picture.
Yeah, and and then there's a custom picture that I had somebody draw for me of a bald cat girl. So go check that out. Episode 1. You can go to japankyo.com/Ichimon Japan, or of course, if you want to see the picture, you have to go to Ichimon Japan, japankyo.com. All right, so Nyan Nyan. So the first time I heard this, I didn't know what it meant, but from the context, it was totally clear what was meant. I was in, so what I heard was Nyan Nyan suru. Okay, suru means you can translate it as to do something, right? Nyan Nyan is the onomatopoeia for a cat meowing, right? Nyan or nyan means to meow, right? It's basically meow. Nyan Nyan is you're just saying it twice, so I mean you can say it that way. Also in baby talk, Nyan Nyan can mean cat. So
Nyan-chan.
Nyan-chan also can mean cat. But Nyan Nyan suru means to have sex. And I was in the Aikido club when I was studying abroad, and the club president was a pretty silly guy. And then he made some joke about Nyan Nyan suru. And I got it pretty quickly from the context what he meant. And I always thought that was just a funny way to say that, right? Like if you're about to, it'd be like in English saying like, so I totally meow meowed this girl or something.
It's kind of funny you mentioned that, but in every culture I've been in, if you ever encounter a weird word or phrase you don't understand, it's probably sexual.
Yes. Well,
it might not literally be sex, but it's probably related in some way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just euphemisms, right? Like it's saying, saying something explicit in a way, implying something
indirect
explicit.
way.
Yeah. So,
like almost any word can mean sex in some context.
Yeah, it's like intonation, right? So,
yeah,
I totally ate burrito or something. I don't know. Yeah.
I did my taxes yesterday.
Yeah. Anyway. So I thought it was a funny expression, and I never forgot it, but I also never looked into why Nyan Nyan meant this, right? I guess cats are kind of sexy. I don't know. Like I just, that was the best I could come up with.
because sexy cats are just all over the place.
Well, there's the whole cat girl thing, and I don't know, like
Yeah, but the explanation you found, I think, slightly predates the cat girl, or at least the sexy cat girl.
Geez, I don't remember. No, because the one that we found, that the manga that is kind of acknowledged as the origin was a 1970s one, right? So yeah.
Well, there was the even older one, but they weren't sexy cat girls.
Yeah. Anyway, go listen to episode 1 to understand what we're talking about. But anyway, Nyan Nyan suru, apparently, now I looked this up and this was very interesting, but dates back to 1983. And the story of a 15-year-old actress, TV personality, idol, like singer. Her name is a Tomoko Takabe. If you were to say in Japanese, it would be Takabe Tomoko. So she's 15 years old. She's popular. She has this very clean cut, like most idols, especially young ones, will have that kind of super innocent and pure, almost like they have cats on their heads, right? Like neko kabutteru, right? Go back to part.
And they definitely have cat tongues.
Yeah. They're pretending, like they're super innocent. They can't do anything, and they're not even good singers, but they're trying their hardest. They're just super energetic, and they're doing their absolute best to entertain people. And that's how they develop their followings. And I guess she was in this category back in 1983. And a scandal happened, which is referred to as the Nyan Nyan Jiken, the Nyan Nyan incident, the meow meow incident, okay? Again, Nyan Nyan, it just sounds funny, right? Like this whole Nyan Nyan Scandal, whatever. It just sounds really funny to me. But be warned, because this story, it gets dark. It gets quite dark.
Yeah, it's not a happy one.
It's not at all a happy story. It's a very dark story. So what happens is this 18-year-old guy is in a TV show with her as an extra. And about 3 months prior to this scandal breaking in June, he ends up leaking this photo to a tabloid of Tomoko Takabe. She's naked, like covered with a futon, but has a cigarette in her mouth. And again, she's 15 years old, so she's underage.
She's not old enough for the photo or for the smoking.
Yeah, exactly. Naked photo of a 15-year-old. I mean, from what I could tell from the descriptions that I read, it seemed like the explicit parts were covered, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But she had a cigarette in her mouth, which as far as I could tell was not lit. And the headline in this tabloid basically uses Nyan Nyan to imply sex, and it uses the headline implies that she's taking a break, smoking a cigarette after sex, and this is the picture showing that. Ryan, could you read that headline for us?
It said, ベッドで二人仲良くニャンニャンしちゃった後の一服である.
So it's like the smoke that she had after these two did Nyan Nyan, they are in bed.
It's a little like there's two things that jump out to me as being odd. One is the nakayoku.
Oh, nakayoku. So very close. That's friendly. Something like that.
It's just like describing it as friendly sex seems odd to me.
Well, it's more like intimate, I guess, is the implication, right? Like they're very close, very rabu is what they would say, right? Like in Japanese, like very affectionate.
Also, it's not nyanyan suru, it's shichata.
Right.
So it's like
it's already did it. That's past tense, but also kind of like
it has like an implication,
like a mischievous kind of nuance to it.
There's something implied there, which is odd for a headline, which is usually neutral.
Well, it's a tabloid. It's like
I guess that's true. It's not news. Never mind.
Yeah, from what I read, like this really led to an increase in super like dirty tabloid, like sexy kind of stuff, right?
They didn't publish the picture, did they?
No, they did. They did.
How is that like not illegal?
Well, and that is a little bit of the scandal, like they published an underage girls, like that kind of photo. Again, I'm not 100% sure if they actually showed any of the parts that, like I mean, does just say nipples or like the part that would have to be blurred out according to Japanese law. But I'm not 100% sure on that because I found a cropped copy of the photo, thankfully, in an article that I found, and I'm glad they cropped it, but you only see her face holding the cigarette. So you can't see.
Is she holding it or is it like in her lips?
So, okay, so I'm not sure. You'd have to check the link, but it was an English language article.
Okay.
So anyway, so the Japanese headlines are always really tough to translate because of the way the language works. It's extra hard. But
it's normal headline grammar where everything's like minimized, but when it's in a different language and you're translating it, it just becomes awkward.
Yeah. But the point that I think is the most important takeaway here is that the article and the headline is saying that this is an after they are done with their intimate activity, this photo was taken. So obviously, this clean-cut, super innocent idol, actress, TV personality, 15 years old. This is a huge blow to her image. Big deal. And so they start taking her off the TV shows that she was on. And you often see this even to this day. Like whenever a celebrity does something kind of scandalous, like for example, smoking marijuana. Like marijuana is just like a huge deal. Getting caught with like MDMA or like what they call stimulants, right? Like kakusei. Like that's it. Like when a celebrity gets caught with any of that, it's usually just all over. For example, somewhat recently, Sawajiri Erika was a big deal in the news. She was on this taiga drama, they call it, which is the yearly NHK period drama. She was an important character and they just totally erased her from that. The show had already begun filming and they had to film her parts all over again with a different actress. And they basically try to erase all signs that she ever existed from the public record. And it's pretty extreme. So they basically, with this girl and 15 years old back in 1983, they tried to delete her from, the TV shows, everything that she was a part of.
So I don't want to derail the direction of the conversation too much, but I do feel like there's some value in pointing out what something is. A lot of this is due to sexism.
Yes, absolutely.
She's the victim in this case of some douchebag leaking a photo of her and she gets punished for it. Yeah.
So there's plenty of scandals going a certain way because of sexism. There's plenty of examples of that.
I think the
in Japan,
scandals don't have
usually
as much repercussions.
Yes. When it comes to drugs, usually they're very strict about that, and
they're if they ever have drugs or yakuza ties, it can be career ending for them too. But sex picture for them would probably not even do anything.
Yeah. Or they just disappear for a little bit and then they end up coming back.
They're gone a year and then they come back.
Yeah. So, 1983, this happens. It's a big deal. Apparently, the 18-year-old guy, he tried to take the photo to a TV station, like a normal network TV station, but, and this is according to what I read on the Wikipedia entry, this is, they cited another account about this story that was published much later, but the guy tried to take it to this TV station, but the upper executives basically killed the story. And then people related to organized crime like Boso Zoku, and then possibly kind of Yakuza people, they kind of were intimidating this 18-year-old guy. So then the guy decided to take it to this tabloid called Focus because he wanted to get the story out there for his own personal protection. He didn't end up receiving money according to this account. So that's what they say. This is the account. He didn't do it for the money, but that raises the question of why did he even take the photo to the TV station in the first place? I have no idea.
It sounds like, I don't know what happened before I was born, but
yeah,
it sounds like he's just making up an excuse.
Yeah, I don't know. This is also according to the editorial staff at Focus also backs this up, but Focus has a lot to gain by defending themselves too. So, you never know. And why did he take it in the first place to the TV station? That is the part that just puzzles me.
But the Yakuza were angry at him for trying to publish it, it sounds.
Yes, and now
why would you think to protect yourself you would just publish it?
Yeah, so that's kind of shaky too, although I do kind of get the logic. If you're trying to get me to hide the story, if the story's out there, then you have nothing to threaten me about anymore. So
yeah, but you could also just say okay and get rid of the story. I mean,
yeah,
this isn't like you're exposing some scandal the world needs to know about. This is you trying to trash some girl's life because she trusted you and you're a douchebag.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And just one more aspect of this part though. It's been documented that many people, I won't say many, but that there are people in the upper echelons of the Japanese entertainment industry that do have ties to these shady groups. Shimada Shinsuke, I believe is his name. He was one of the most absolute popular, biggest Japanese comedians in Japan. But about 10 years ago, it came out that he had some ties to some kind of Yakuza people, and he has disappeared from the entertainment industry. And only fairly recently did he make an appearance on YouTube. So
there was another big one. I think about 10 years ago, probably when you were in Kobe, there was some former pop star girl singer.
Yeah.
Who at this point had been retired for a while and was like in her 40s. But I think some ties to her in Yakuza popped up around like 2010. Do you remember that? I can't think who it was.
I don't remember that one, but seems totally possible. Yeah.
I just remember that was like the big news for like 2 weeks where I lived as everyone was talking about her.
Yeah, yeah. So the fact that TV executives for their own benefit would try to, kill a story and then use organized crime or shady people to help hide the story, that doesn't seem unbelievable to me. But the ultimate issue that I have with the information that I was able to find is like, I don't know the original motivation of this guy. Why did he try to do it? And, that was just a crappy thing to do in the first place. But
it sounds like one of the very, very rare situations where like the Yakuza was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Not if they were murdering, like threatening to kill him or anything.
Exactly. Yeah. But the fact that
they were opposed to
publishing
exposing
a photo,
the underage girls' nude photos, then Yeah, I
think there is value to perhaps letting people know that, oh my God, like she is smoking, and doing, or
she's not even smoking. She's holding a cigarette.
Right. Like if there is this thing where like the talent agency is basically hiding all this and manipulating her, or basically abusing her, there is value to this story. If she's just posing for a silly picture, and there's no evidence that she's doing something actually illegal, and publishing a nude photo of her is not the way to go about this.
Also, since we mentioned the drugs, I might be wrong on this. I know marijuana, heroin, cocaine, like the hard drugs have a very, very, very negative reputation.
Yeah.
From my experience, smoking kind of doesn't.
No, smoking
she is underage, but and underage smoking is something you'll get in trouble for, but it's not that scandalous.
No, when I was studying abroad, I have seen junior high kids just loitering, smoking. Yeah. Like that is something that I would see, and that was over 10 years ago. I am pretty sure if you look hard enough, you can still find it. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance it was taken much more seriously in 1983, but even my students are like very innocent children, so I've never seen them. But my friends who work at other schools have often told me they've seen their kids on the weekend smoking, and their attitude's like, oh, you shouldn't do that. And like, oh, I know. And like, that's the end of it. It's not like...
No, you go to like the suburbs of Osaka or like even Kobe, the kind of not so well-to-do suburbs, you'll see that. You'll definitely, I think, if you stick around long enough, you'll eventually run into it. So anyway, the scandal breaks, you have this picture and it becomes a big deal. The 18-year-old guy, apparently he gets hospitalized due to like stress ulcers after this whole thing happens. And then like in September, he ends up committing suicide. He ends up killing himself through like car exhaust. He just, I guess, leaves the car running and ends up suffocating himself. And right before this happens, the Tomoko Takabe, the 15-year-old girl that we're talking about, she does the couple months before, she's doing like interviews and tries to like, apologize. She explains that this wasn't
Apologize for being victimized. Yeah.
Basically, yeah. She explains she wasn't actually smoking. She just had it in her mouth, the cigarette. And this wasn't before or after sex. It was just a silly picture we took like playing around. And then she's, apologizing, and it seems like she's going to kind of start making appearances again. And then the guy ends up committing suicide, and that kind of like makes the whole situation even worse again. So she basically just ends up disappearing from the entertainment industry. She drops out of the music group that they were in, this 3-girl group called Warabe. And according to the English article that I read, she eventually ends up going into some kind of job related to mental health, which in a way is kind of a positive thing. I'm glad that she decided to try to help people with this, and it didn't end up going the route of the 18-year-old guy where she took her own life. But it is just a very sad, sad story.
I'm glad she's okay, and I don't care about the other guy.
Yeah. So again, this was just one little mention that I saw in an English language article. I didn't see the mention of what she did afterwards in the Japanese article that I was reading, but hopefully, that is the case, and hopefully she's managed to have an okay life afterwards. As for why Nyan, why this became to mean, or rather, why the magazine chose to use Nyan as this kind of euphemism for sex or like hanky-panky or just, fooling around, something like that. So apparently, this is the theory, although I'm not sure if this is 100% accurate, but this is what is written. The writer that wrote the headline and the article is presumably, he didn't want to use the word sex or some explicit equivalent, right? But instead, he wanted to use some other like euphemistic kind of thing. And Nyan is in the lyrics of one of the songs of the group that Tomoko Takabe was in. The group was called Warabe again, but Nyan was in that song. So then I guess he thought it was kind of a clever thing to use Nyan in this way.
And it was specifically her solo part in the song, so I guess more associated with her than the rest of the group.
Right.
I presume, again, this is before we were born, and I've never
heard I'd never heard this song or the group or this idol until today when I was researching this. So since then, Nyan Nyan has also come to be used in another interesting way. Nyan Nyan shashin. That's another usage. Nyan Nyan shashin are basically similar kinds of photos to what we were talking about with Tomoko Takabe, where it's kind of like a sex photo, a nude photo, a leaked photo of some celebrity. Nyan Nyan shashin. And there have been many, many celebrities that have gotten into this kind of like scandal sort of news. There's even Arashi, like the boy group Arashi, which is the most popular like male Johnny's idol group. They've had their own kind of Nyan Nyan shashin-ish scandal. So it's a pretty well-known term, not a particularly positive term. But through this, the nyannyan suru has become a pretty well-known term. And that means to, hanky-panky, like, it's pretty well-known. Although I don't know if like the 60 and 70-year-olds are using this word, but I think my impression is it skews a bit younger in its usage. But even then, I would still say 30s, 40s still use this word, because think about it, like this word got started in like the 80s, right? So even slightly older people still probably are at least aware of it. So there you go, nyannyan suru. Now you know what that means and the kind of rather dark, sad story behind it, which I didn't know about until I looked into it.
So in conclusion, in Japanese, many phrases are associated with cats, all of them negative.
Yeah, basically. Is there any positive?
Well, the cat's tongue's not so much negative, it's just neutral, but all the others are negative.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, nekojita is the only exception. Although, because even neko no te, right? It's like cats
it's like the cat's not going to help.
Yeah, it's not going to help. It's not helpful. So, but
it's just you're desperate, so you might as well have one.
Yeah.
There's even more. Like we didn't have neko ni koban.
Yeah, exactly. Like giving money.
It's basically to give money to a cat, and it means to waste something.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's even more, but I think that's enough. We've probably this is long enough for an episode, but
Some cat lover is going to like barrage us with a list
Yeah,
of
if-
positive cat things.
if you can think of
All
other
2 of them.
if you can think of other interesting cat expressions in Japanese, feel free to email us at ichimon@japankyo.com. All right. And if you have any other questions, please send them over. I'd love to read your questions.
I will say there are probably literally hundreds of phrases involving like animals like this.
Oh, tons. Yeah.
Certainly some have cats in a positive light.
Yeah.
I just don't know them and they're not that common.
Neko.
I once had a guy when I used to teach at Eikaiwa, I had it in a class with adults.
Yeah.
And they had something that was like describe a family member in a like short sentence.
Mhm.
And he picked his wife and said like a cat, and he meant it in a very positive way.
That's nice. I'm not sure what the nuance is, but
I'm not either. I guess he just meant like really cute.
Okay.
I don't know.
koneko mitai, I guess, like a little, like
He
a
didn't say
kitten.
koneko though.
Oh,
Nah, he's like a shaggy stray cat.
it's like an alley cat.
But despite these phrases too, I do think the general perception culturally in Japan is fairly positive towards cats as being adorable little fluff balls, not
Definitely, yeah.
not like
There
rodents
is,
or something they want to get rid of.
yeah. There's an acknowledgement that they're kind of, capricious.
Similar to the West, they have a dark side.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Generally, people like them.
Yeah, they do. They run on their own pace, but they are adorable.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we'll leave it at that, and of course, I think it's time to say bye bye, keys.
Bye bye, Key.